So this is my assignment breakdown. I had a quick flight down to Saigon, 1 day to nail the shot, while a half day I was back home that evening in my home studio here, filing the images from my client in California. Sounds simple, right? Well, let me take you behind the scenes of my recent shoot for RH, also known as Restoration Hardware. This was a black and white portrait session with one of their designers. Natural light, deep shadows, and a little creative problem solving. But before we dive in, just a quick intro. I'm Justin Mott, and welcome to my channel. I've been a photographer for over 20 years. I've shot over 100 assignments in Asia and around the world for the New York Times. Had my work featured in National Geographic and even a global ad campaign for Leica. This channel here, my community, my Ask Mott community, is all about sharing what I've learned as a professional photographer. So if you love photography and storytelling, hit the subscribe button and check out askmott.com for my workshops and coaching and much more. So the brief was pretty straightforward. One hero shot for their catalog, a natural and dramatic black and white portrait of one of their designers at his studio in Ho Chi Minh City. As far as the overall look and the creative direction, it gave me a nice PDF sample of the poses they want, the lighting they wanted. And it was pretty straightforward, pretty easy and fun, and something I like to shoot. So natural window light, harsh shadows, but to shoot a little bit flat to give their retouchers some leeway in post-production. And for this client, I'd be handing over all the raws and they'll do the retouching. I'll send my sample shots lightly retouched, but they'll do the final retouching on my raw files, which I'll upload to them. So in addition to the hero shot, I also needed to get a couple extra shots in case they needed a variety for future layouts, or if they feature him again, they just wanted some nice variety. So black and white isn't something I get to shoot often for commercial clients, so I was excited. So as far as gear breakdown for this shoot, I packed very light. As these sort of shoots for RH, these editorial style shoots, I pack light and I usually travel solo. Some of my commercial shoots, I travel with my entire full-time staff. Some of them, like this shoot, depends on the budget, depends on the shoot, I'll travel solo. So for gear, for cameras, I use my Leica SL2-S as my main camera, my Leica M10 as my backup camera. And for lenses, I use my Leica 50mm Summilux, which was sort of the MVP of the day. This is the lens I used the most for the shoot. I also had my Voigtlander 75, also great for portraits. I brought my 24-90 Leica SL just in case I needed autofocus and just to have that flexibility, or if I had to work fast, or if my eyes failed me, because now I'm wearing glasses. I just had that just in case. And I also brought my 35, which is great for my sort of reportage style stuff, but there was none of that on the shoot, so I just brought it because I didn't want to leave it here by itself. Everything was going to be shot vertical, also pretty tight, so 35 didn't really make sense. Even though natural light was the game plan, I did hire the local team to provide backups for me, so I had a 500-watt constant light that I had them bring and a spotlight just to overpower the sun. And for the outdoor shot, or if the light didn't come inside the studio, you got to factor that in, right? The clients saw the scouting picture, they're going to be like, oh, I want that light, and of course I want it too. So even if I can't get it with natural light, that's what they're going to want. So I'm going to need to be able to mimic that. So it's very helpful to have the scouting images. If the client doesn't provide them for me, then I'll try to get the subject to provide them, even in a short period of time, like take some pictures, help me plan. In some shoots, I'm going to have a full scouting day. This one, no. I'm just going to arrive, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to have to get it done based off of their reference board from the client and what the subject sent through as far as scouting images. And I carried all my gear down there in my Wotancraft 10-liter bag. Anyone interested in Wotancraft bags, check out the affiliate link in the description box below. And so I flew down the night before. I checked into the JW Marriott. Yes, at my age, I'm becoming like one of those middle-aged points guys. I like to stay at Marriott. I like their Bonvoy program, so I always stay at Marriott's, always get my points. If you're interested in my gear and all the rewards programs that I used, if you're becoming one of those guys, not saying it's a great thing, but if you're interested, check out my Ultimate Gear Guide, also in the description box below. So the next day, we started the shoot at 6 a.m. The lighting, from what I gathered from talking to Harry, was going to come in through the studio at about 8 o'clock and maybe last till about 9:30. So I got there at 6. We didn't start shooting till 7, but I like to get there early just in case things can go wrong, and so I just need to plan. They're sending me all the way down there to get this done in one day, even a few hours. I just don't take any chances. Harry showed up, British guy, good looking guy, made my job a little bit easier, but not a huge fan of being photographed. That's pretty common, and also a misconception that people always think that like good looking people like to be photographed. That's not always the case. So before we started shooting, I just like to start a rapport with people, talk to them a little bit, let them know like how the day's gonna unfold, what I'm looking for, let them know, give them outs. Hey man, if you need a break or you're hot, you feel sweaty, just tell me. I want people to feel comfortable. That's so important. A portrait shoot, every shoot that I do, especially portraits, is a collaborative process. Yeah, I'm going to direct. Yeah, I'm responsible at the end, but I need to make them feel comfortable. And if it doesn't come out nicely, I don't get what I want, that falls on me. So my solution for Harry, because we needed sort of a natural moment. That's what they wanted, a portrait but a natural moment, not looking right at the camera. So I just sort of directed him into natural moment. I had him talk to my lighting assistant about his design. I gave him props. He had a little model table and some fluted like plexiglass, and I just let him geek out about his craft and explain it to my assistant just off camera. So I'm here, he's there, and he's kind of talking off this way. I'd have him talk in the direction where the light is, and I'm like, hey man, just tell us about that. I mean, you can tell me, but tell him, tell me through him. So tell me about the glass, tell me about the design, tell me what you're looking for. And then his passion's gonna come through, and then I'm gonna get natural moments. And he's not so uncomfortable that he's being photographed. He's not even looking at me. He's just talking to the guy, and I'm just shooting, and then occasionally directing, like, hey, okay, that's great, but can you maybe not fidget so much with it? Or hold it a little bit closer, look at it a little bit closer. So I had him hold a bunch of different materials with some big piece of fabric. That was too bulky. I started to really focus in on what I liked. I liked the plexiglass and I liked the little table. And the plexiglass, I noticed, was getting a cool reflection on his face. So I was playing around with how closely he held it to his face. And then with the table, I liked the action of when he held it up close and was like talking about like the top of it and pointing to it. When he just held it here, it was boring. So what I'll do is I'll let people talk, I'll observe, I'll shoot, I'll observe a little bit, and I'll say, okay, when he holds it here, it's boring. When he holds it up here, and then you just direct into what's working. And man, I worked that plexiglass every which way. Him holding it, I had another piece of the glass that I was shooting through. I was shooting through his window. I just played around with sort of every possible angle. And then as the light started to come through the inside into his studio, he had this pin board that was already approved. I liked it. We sort of moved around a couple things just so he fit nicely within the composition, but I had a bunch of his design sketches on there. I had him play around with looking at the sketches. And so we shot outside to get him warmed up. I did get some usable shots on the outside, but really once that light came through the inside, that's where I really worked it. That's where we played around more with the table, more with the plexiglass, getting close, moving back 50, 75, spent a little time with the 24 to 70, and I just kind of worked it. I worked it to the bone. That's something I'm pretty good at, is working a scene down and getting a nice variety for my clients. And also just not settling on like, oh, I have the shot already. I'm always looking at it, then I'm taking a minute, I might have a sip of my coffee, grab a glass of water, or I might just go and clear my head for a minute. So like, okay, I like this, but what else? What am I missing? Sometimes I involve the client. Sometimes it's just a conversation I have in my own head. So afternoon, after lunch, packed up, went back to the hotel, checked out, got my points, flew back to Hanoi, got home quickly, played with my dogs, headed over to my desktop computer, checked out all the images, made sure all my manual focus shots were sharp. I uploaded about 70 images from the day, lightly toned in black and white just for preview, and then just mirrored copies of the raws, and then that's it. Again, some clients I'm working for weeks with, back and forth with the retouching team. This client, no. Just send them the images. If they need anything else, I'll ask. They didn't. They were happy. They were thankful. I was happy. I was thankful. All good on the shoot. Before I do my little outro here, guys, here are my 5 favorite pictures from the shoot. I don't know what the client's favorite shots are, but these are my favorite images. I haven't seen the layout yet. Maybe it'll be done by the time I post this. Who knows? We'll see. But I had a great time on the shoot. Loved the kit for the shoot. Loved everything about it. Everything went well. If you guys liked this episode, I have a link to the last shoot I did for them in Indonesia, which was completely different. Did a full assignment breakdown there, but we had studio lighting, had reportage, had detail shots, way different type of shoot, and everything was in color, not in black and white. And a lot more went wrong on that shoot, but you can check that out. I'll put a link here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to check out my online store at askmott.com. I've got my Northern Vietnam Photography Workshop, 4 slots left for March 2025. I've got my one-on-one coaching on there. Anyone interested in improving, open to all skill levels. Anyone in the world, anyone that wants to improve, check all that out and more at askmott.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to have a dialogue with me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to have a wonderful day.